right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Hesitation Station. My name is Jay, along with my co-host Tank. How's it going this week today, buddy, or whichever it is?
Yeah,
Time is
digivolving
flying.
into a new episode, bud.
We are. But today, we've been having a lot of guests lately. But this one was kind of a teaser for you guys a couple weeks ago, and I didn't give you who it was, but now I am. So, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to personally introduce Paul St. Peter, aka the voice of Kurama.
How you
Hi,
doing,
how you
everybody?
doing?
Hey,
Okay, here we are, guys.
how's everything going?
Pretty well, pretty well. Life's been good.
Good, good. You've been busy with cons and stuff lately?
Not for the last couple of months. I've been out of the country. I was in the Philippines for 3 weeks. Um,
Ooh.
then came home, did some episodic work on a couple of animes, and got sick for 3.5 weeks. So
Oh,
Oh,
recovering.
wonderful. What were you, if I may ask, what were you sick with?
I had a nasal infection and a lung infection. I caught those, I think, in the Philippines, and antibiotics. Boom, boom, done. Did
Done
the
and
did
well,
the
done.
we're glad you're feeling better.
Me too, and the voice is almost back. I'm still working it though.
Good. I just have a friend of ours that he just got COVID again, so he's
Oh,
feeling like absolute garbage.
uh, I did catch it one time, and I was preparing for the worst, and it is just like they said. It feels like a mild case of the flu.
Yeah.
Believe me, I've had worse colds, so I was glad I got the vaccination because it didn't even slow me down. I still stayed isolated, but I stood there going, okay, what's all the hoopla? But as your friend is finding out, and a friend of mine who's the healthiest guy I've ever met, he
Mm.
was floored by it. I mean, we're talking yoga. He does everything. He was knocked on his butt. I, on the other end, kept walking around like it was nothing. So it depends on who the person is.
Right. Me and my wife, we got quarantined in my house, and I'm telling you, we probably were gonna kill each other by the 2 weeks we're done.
Uh,
She was like, "Oh, I was so happy quarantine was done." I was like, "Oh well, love you too." Jeez. But anyway, sorry about that. We are very detourish people. We get off topic a lot. But
Me too.
Miss, would you rather be called Mr. St. Peter or
You can call me Paul.
Paul? Okay, Paul's good. Paul, tell us about you. We'll get into your acting career here shortly, but let's hear about Paul.
Well, Paul, I am a guy who was born in Fargo, North Dakota.
Mhm.
I was raised in San Diego. I've been in LA for about 45 years now. My training in San Diego, I was training as a theater actor. I sang in the opera company, the Civic Light Opera, um, handled a few languages. Coming to Los Angeles, I wanted to make sure that I did as much training as I could, learned as many things, do as many workshops as you can, get into anything you can do to keep yourself on stage and keep yourself in shape, but learning new things.
Mhm.
One thing I did was becoming a stage actor. You want to have as many crafts, as many skills as you can. So I learned to be an accent and dialect specialist and a phoneticist. So I, as an individual, was doing all of these things for myself as an actor. And just these are the things that interested me, like history. I study history endlessly. And my instructor for accents and dialects was so impressed by me that he asked me to teach with him. And I thought, great, this is going to be this private class that's where I learned from him. I
Mhm.
studied for 2 years, and it was just going to be that. That's what I thought. Okay.
Right.
Unbeknownst to me, he was the chairman of the speech department for the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and he wanted me to come and
Okay.
teach there. And
Wow.
boy, you talk about a guy who was out of place. I've never been to college. Um, But these skills he taught me are so rarefied, they're so unusual, even college professors don't know how to do what I do. So I get these jobs, either teaching at a college or coaching for a production at a college. And these guys who've gotten just experience and years at the yin yang, they got it all, and they don't know how to do what I do. Um,
Mhm.
so that has been a part of my personality as an actor, as an individual, as a teacher and historian. And it's hard for me to separate Paul from the actor. We are one and the same.
Absolutely. Have you ever done any like ADRs directing?
I've never directed anything like that. I've been, by default, I've become a director because I happen to be the most experienced person.
Hmm.
But automated dialogue replacement, 99% of actors in LA don't know what that means. They might know what ADR is, but they don't actually know what it stands for. Um, I've been doing that since 1986.
Wow.
Um, and my skills with dubbing and with looping, and that is what's called looping. If you are replacing English with English, somebody on the screen, they're not happy with the voice, or his accent wasn't good, or maybe there was camera noise. All sorts of things can happen. So we cover that. We re-voice the person in the session, and if it's English to English, that's called looping.
Hmm.
If it's animation or foreign language, replacing a foreign actor, that's called dubbing specifically. Those are the
Okay.
definitions involved. Uh, yeah, I've done a ton of ADR. Um, if you ever see the original Austin Powers film,
Hmm.
my voice is in the background there. I did that. I've done a ton of things, big and small. Uh, that's another great place to learn and to cut your teeth and learn to be a better actor, because all of these things contribute to you being a better actor, a more experienced and seasoned actor.
See, I thought when I was a kid, I took a lot of improv. And I
Uh-huh.
thought, oh, that's gonna get me into voice acting. I'm golden. No, no, there's a lot more to it, especially now starting this podcast and interviewing voice actors like yourself and John
Mhm.
Swayze and Michael Yurchek and all of them guys. They've taught me a lot that I was nowhere close.
Yeah, the one thing that people really, just to put it plainly, screw up is they think that they want to go into voice acting. Okay. The thing I tell them in panels, wherever I am for a convention, teach them privately, doing in a podcast or whoever I might be, I will tell you, you must become an actor first.
Yeah.
Now you did a great thing. You did improv. Okay.
Mhm.
You need to get on stage and do live work like that, do plays, do as much training as you can, and become a grounded, solid actor so that when you go in to do voiceover, where your stage is about as big as a pizza, because
Yeah.
that's the area where the microphone is picking you up. So
Mhm.
that's your stage. You have no props. You don't even get to talk to other people. You are on your own. If you're not grounded as an actor, if you haven't done the improv and you can't react and think on your feet, as the old saying goes, you won't be able to do that. Sadly, most people that go into voice acting think that it's something separate. And well, this won't be hard. I mean, how tough could it be? I'm just standing in front of a microphone. No, I have done Shakespeare. I have done opera. I've been in musicals. I've done what they call legit theater, which is dramas and comedies. And I've also done 11 seasons of Nevada Shakespeare Festival. I have a ton of experience, and I can tell you from experience that acting in front of a microphone is the hardest style there is. You simply have to bring everything. Your director can help you, but you are everything there. So there are no props. I don't get to swing a sword, and I don't get to pick up a bottle of beer and talk about how much I like the beer with my buddies. Nope, it's all vocally. And
Yeah.
people find out the hard way that you have to bring all of it just with the voice. And that is not something that's easy. It's, in my experience, the toughest style of acting, and I've done some difficult things.
Absolutely. Tate, you got any questions, man?
That I think is one thing a lot of people don't take into consideration. When they watch movies or TV shows or anime or anything, they'll see the actors and they'll hear the voice actors, and they usually split the two up. And
Mhm.
people tend to lean more towards actors when they think of celebrities. But what they don't understand is when you're just in that booth and the only thing you have in front of you is that microphone, it is difficult because you have to convey everything in that scene, like you said, strictly through your voice. They're not going to see you in the booth. You don't have a sword to swing around. You can't pick up a beer bottle. It's you and your voice, and that's it.
Yeah, one of the things you have to keep in mind, um, everything I had done in my career led me into the booth. Um,
Mm,
I tell people that, and this is a number, I don't know where it comes from exactly, but I've heard it mentioned a couple of times. And I don't know who figures this stuff out, who goes around polling people, but 96% of people that go into voiceover quit
Wow.
because it is so difficult. And the idea that you step in front of a mic and it doesn't matter if you have any acting skills. All I'm going to do is go in there and be silly and be funny and whatever. Um, when I talk about how well I've done and how good I am at this, it isn't really a question so much of my bragging about it. I'm very fortunate that I'm able to combine a very peculiar set of skills, um, skills no one would even think about. Imagine looking down at a script, at a line of dialogue, and looking at the time code next to it, the start code and the end code, and being able to tell if the line was underwritten or overwritten. Do I need to take more time or do I need to speed it up? I can do that and I can look just looking at the script and looking at the dialogue and looking at the timing, and I can make that work. Um, that among voice actors is an unusual skill. Um, but I will look down at the copy and see the style they were looking for because of my experience with poetry, with Shakespeare, with vocal production, with all the things that I've done before, all of the accents and dialects. I can look at that and tell, do I have to go faster, slower? Do I need to be clearer here or there? You need to be able to figure out the timing. You need to look up on the screen and see what the time code says. You need to match the sync. You need to know when there's going to be a pause. Um, and bring a performance. You have to be that character as a human being in your voice only. When you put all of these things together, as I say, it's a peculiar set of skills. Most people can't do all of them. Some people can do some of them. I'm fortunate to be among that rare group of people that can do all of these things together effectively.
Hmm.
Um, you may have a great voice. I know people with better voices than mine. I know people who are better actors than I am. Can they do all of this in front of a microphone? No. And you guys probably have seen this and heard this in major feature films of anime. Um, they bring in a celebrity actor, a big, huge Hollywood actor, to do the character, and they screw it up.
Hmm.
Their reading is flat. You can tell there's no commitment. It feels uncertain when you're listening to them. They were brought in because of their name. That doesn't mean they're good at this stuff. And that 96% number, it's pretty accurate based on what I know. The people that I've coached over the decades, because I also teach this stuff.
Hmm.
I will bring someone in and teach them the phonetic alphabet. It's hard to learn. Once you get good with it, I can teach you anything I know, and it's yours for life. It's a gift for life and makes you a better voice actor. Um, Once they see that that's involved and how much in order to be able to do this effectively, they quit, they give up. And the number of people that do what I do effectively for a living is probably in the low to mid hundreds. Um, that's why you see me do a big title like Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Here I am. There's
Xemnas.
Xemnas. Yeah. Um,
nice.
uh, and Kurama. I did 23 different voices on Digimon. I bring all this stuff to a session and I get hired and hired and hired again.
Hmm.
Um, when people see what they're up against, and I will tell them, go ahead and try it. It will benefit you as an actor if you want to remain an actor, but do not begin by saying, I want to become a voice actor. Become an actor. Do the improv like you did, which is a great thing. It's one of the best things you can do for yourself as an actor. Um, So you're thinking on your feet, but also ground yourself in the emotions. Make sure that when they tell you they want it to be done like this, you can actually bring that. You're not making it up, or you're not stretching yourself to the breaking point, because everyone hears that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That comes through the voice, comes through the performance. Um, so become an actor, become solid as a rock as an actor, and maybe you can do voiceover. If you can, great. All of that stuff is great. I remember recently, oh, the name escapes me, but I was seeing this on Twitter. Uh, an actor was introduced, and he was being asked about what does it take. And he put something beautifully. He said, "Stage actors can do movies. Movies can't. Movie actors can't turn around and be a stage actor. It's just not that easy." Um, Once you are grounded as a theater actor, and you just know you're good. You know you're solid. You're not going to get rattled or broken. Um, Whatever they throw at you on the set, whatever you need to do, you're ready to do. I have had um, TV and movie actors come to me and say, "My God, I've never done a play before. Now I have to do a play. What do I do? How do you explain in 10 minutes?" uh, Basically, a lifetime of experience and training. You can't. I just said, look, hold the script up and make sure you talk loud enough for today. That's all the advice I can give you.
That's fair. Now, obviously, your voice is if a lot of people can't tell, your voice is pretty deep, especially when you do Kurama and Xemnas. So, how do you differentiate those? Like, because I mean, it's a commanding presence, obviously. So, you do Xemnas. He has that little bit of a accent where he's like Organization 13, but then you have Kurama, which is a lot more heavier. How does that work for you?
Well, as far as the Kurama voice, I was simply approached to do the role. I didn't
Mhm.
audition. Um,
Oh,
yeah, and people know me for years, well, actually decades, as the guy that does monster voices and all the other stuff. So I do tons and tons of things like that. So a lot of times they know. There's a director, Bob Buckholz, who approached me and said, "Okay, yeah, the people want you for this project, and they want you to do that voice." And we all know what that means. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I said, sure, I'll just bring it in. And it's something I can do. When I talk about being able to do accents and dialects, the same is true with your different voices. They have to be at your command.
mhm.
Or as one of my acting teachers said, you have to have them in your back pocket all the time. Okay.
Yeah.
He was talking about accents and dialects and stuff, but that includes the character voices also. You need to be able to bring that this quickly. So you're not searching, or you're not saying, well, give me 10 minutes to figure it out, because you're on studio time now. You're on
Right.
the director's time, and you're on engineering time. Uh, so you just need to bring it. When they said, yeah, they want that voice, I knew what they meant. Um, and he was the director for Kingdom Hearts when I started.
Mhm.
The Kurama voice I had heard somebody do, and I simply imitated it. And I've refined it. I've created more levels and more texture, and it's much more complex than when I first started.
Right.
Um, Now, technically, how I do it, and I have to caution you: do not try this at home. I am a professional, because a lot of people try it and they burn out or hurt themselves. They end up bleeding from the ears because they think it's easy. Well, I just get up there and sound like I'm a heavy metal acid rock singer, you know. Those guys mess their voices up too, because they don't know how to do this. Um, so specifically Kurama. Um, Kurama is not a deeper voice. Neither is Xemnas. Those are
Hmm.
my. That's each voice is in my normal range. What you're hearing now, and the technical term in Italian is called tessitura. The tessitura is your comfortable singing and speaking range. Okay.
Hmm.
So when you're singing, a high note, that's not your tessitura. When you're going very low in your range, that's not either. It's the comfortable range where, so if you're singing La Donna Immobile, that's right in the middle for me. I'm not jumping up high or going down low. Uh, So my tessitura actually is my medium comfortable range, and I'll demonstrate it for you. And again, do not try this at home. But when you play this for everyone, they can do the same thing. As I'm speaking here in my normal middle range, I will go right into Kurama, the nine-tailed demon fox, and I'll come right back here. You see, I'm not going lower at all. So it's not the
Wow.
pitch, it's the placement.
Wow.
Big difference. Yeah. So when I teach people these skills, and I have basically a vocal production workshop that I do, it's a 1 hour thing, and I teach people all this stuff. And I tell them, make sure you write it down because you can't get it all in 1 hour. But I give them all of the basics. I put everything on paper for them. And it's a matter then of getting used to it. But they do have it from A to Z on the
Mhm.
paper to work with. Um, Same is true of Xemnas. When I'm speaking here in my tessitura, and I decide I'm going to say, I am Xemnas, leader of organization 13. I'll go from here and right back into my normal range. So in fact, again, it's not pitched differently, I'm placing it differently. So when I do the back of the throat and the growly, whispery quality of Kurama, that's it, it's placement. It's not pitched any lower. The same is true as Xemnas. Now, I would ask you both, were you both Digimon fans?
I
Yes.
am big,
Not as
big.
big as him, but yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
actually, if you'll entertain me for a moment,
sure.
so we do laser engraving, and this is one that I actually just worked on not too long ago.
I
Hmm.
don't
That's going to
I
be
don't
a
know if you can hold
prize. Probably not, considering it's in three pieces.
it.
But uh, I
Oh, I
did.
mean, you tried. You tried.
Yeah, I tried horribly,
There it
but I
goes.
did War Greymon.
Hmm.
It's going to be a prize for an event that we're working at.
Uh,
But yes, big fan of Digimon.
well, you see, that's impressive to me because I can't even draw a conclusion. Okay, um, that's how bad I am. I can't. My straight lines are crooked. Um, it's just some people are good at things. I'm very impressed by anyone that can do even half of what you have right there. You know, I look at someone that sketches something and I say, "How do you? Are you an alien? What happened? How do you do that?" And they're just writing like it's nothing. But I have my skills too.
Yeah,
Um, so if you know the character of Wormmon from season 2,
I do.
yep, that is my tiniest, cutest, sweetest, most lovable, most pathetic. You want to pick him up and take care of him and just feed him and love him to death. He's my deepest voice that I use in anime.
He's your
Really?
deepest voice?
Yep, the little
Really?
tiny one. Um, Here, I'll demonstrate what I'm talking about. What I said about Tessitura. Okay, so I'm right here. When I start speaking like Wormmon, but I actually drop him down to here. That's Wormmon. So I'm actually dropping my voice. It's the lowest part, not the lowest part of my range, but among my lower notes for the little tiniest character. That's why when people come to my table to buy merch, they look at my Kurama picture and they
Mhm.
see the picture of Wormmon and they refuse to believe that the same guy does both voices. But in fact, the deepest voice I do is the tiniest little character that I do.
Um, I
Uh,
asked I asked another voice actor this, and I don't know if this will apply to you. His name is Neil Kaplan. He did Madara, and he
I
does.
know I know Neil very, very well. He and I are very close friends, yeah.
Yeah, I tried to get him on. I went on his live, and I was like, "Hey, you want to come on?" And he's like, "Whoop," and I was like, "Okay, well, it's fine." But I asked him another question. I was like, "So does it hurt when you do Madara?" Because he does a very, to me, a deep voice.
Mhm.
So I guess the same question applies to you. Do you when you do Kurama or do Xemnas or even Wormmon, does that hurt?
Yeah, Wormmon doesn't bother me. Now, the Kurama voice, I'm doing something vocally that you're not supposed to do.
Hmm.
Um, Now, because of my training and my background, my experience, and as my voice teacher said, my intelligence, He said, "You know how to do this stuff, and you know when to stop." He didn't say it that way, but that's what it amounts to.
Right.
The Kurama voice is does have friction. Okay. Now, what is referred to as a fricative sound has the word friction built into it. Okay. The friction in this particular case is my vocal cords. If you can see this, all right,
Hmm.
your vocal cords are supposed to resonate separately, just like guitar strings. Now, if
Mhm.
you guys play any stringed instrument, you know if you pluck one string, another one might move a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but they do this, they're supposed to do this separately. So as I'm speaking to you, my vocal cords are resonating separately. When I do Kurama, the nine-tailed demon fox, do you see that? They're scraping together a little bit, which is how I create the voice through friction. Now, I can do that 4 to 5 hours and get away with it.
Hmm.
Um, it's uncomfortable. It doesn't hurt me. Anything that hurts me, I stop. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but it is uncomfortable, but I can do it for 4 to 5 hours. And if I needed to come back the next day, I could. I will tell them if you need 2 or 3 more sessions, give me a day off in between. But I can do that, and it doesn't hurt me. I can actually get away with it because of my experience. If you're listening carefully, listen to some of the quality in here. What are you hearing besides the voice and the friction?
I'm hearing raspiness.
That's actually the friction you're hearing. But
Okay.
that's good. If you created a voice like that, you would write down raspy as opposed to friction. And you would mean the same thing I do, but that's what made sense to you. So you would write down that because you want to write down the qualities so you can do them again and reproduce the voice again.
Hmm.
So raspy for you, friction for me, but that's the same thing.
Right.
Huh.
Tank, you
Uh,
got anything? You look puzzled.
Well,
well, see,
to me, it sounded more. It sounded like a gravelly note to it.
yeah, that's basically the same thing, gravelly. Again,
Yeah.
if you were going to create a voice and you want, and the way to do it, one of the ways to do it is make sure you write down the qualities so you can do them again.
Hmm.
Um, you would write down gravelly, but that's raspy and the friction. Okay, here it's hard to hear, and most people don't get it, even fellow experts. I'm whispering.
You're whispering.
Oh wow.
Listen, do you hear the whispery quality? This is
Yeah.
Kurama. Yep, I actually have a whisper in my voice. And most people can't pick that out because they're thinking about the other stuff, which is the important stuff. The whispery quality, again, when I talked about layering it and making it more complex,
Hmm.
that's something I add, and most people can't quite pick that out. But Kurama actually has a lot of whisper in his voice.
That is insane.
That's crazy to me, dude.
Well, the
That's
mixing of the
awesome.
elements, that's very important. You need to be able to, and I call this layering. I have a panel that I call Voice Maker.
Hmm.
And in that panel, I talk to all of the guests that come to attend, and I tell them we are going to be creating voices today, all of us, and your ear for sound and for voice will be sharper after this 1 hour panel. And it is. They walk away thinking, hmm. Now, when they listen to an anime someplace, they hear the voice that the character is doing, and they can pick out what they're doing now because they did my panel, because they
Yeah.
heard I that's right. Paul talked about that. Yes, I'm getting it now. Um, I do this by simply layering qualities of the voice. So, for instance, if I want to be Australian, if I was going to be down under as an Aussie, um, this is a dialect. Now, this is one element, right? It's one level. Um, so Australian's a bit nasal, but why don't I make it even more nasal? So now the dialect has got an even more nasal quality. So that's two, right? It's a dialect and a nasal equality. Let's go ahead and add a third one. Again, this is called layering. So Australian, more nasal like this, and more like this, making a bit of let's call it a throaty quality, you know? That's three. Okay. Now I'm going to do an Australian who's throaty and he's more nasal and he's got a speech impediment. Four. You
That's
see how I do that?
crazy. Yeah.
Good
Now
lord.
that's how I do it, and I barely think about it. Again, I'm very fortunate in the sense that I have these abilities because I can do it without thinking about it.
Right.
If I create a voice like that for a character, I do write the qualities down, and then I can reproduce it every time. There are some, however, that are just what I call stock voices. Voices in my range. I decided to do a deep Southerner one time uh, called Jubal, good Southern name, as you know. Um, and I decided I was going to make him a little deeper, but also quavery, like Wormmon. You hear the voice. He's shaking around like that because he's always scared. He's afraid of everything. So that's called tremolo, a tremulous quality, tremolo in Italiano. Um, but that's a tremulous voice. And if you want to make a character kind of scary, you do that. He's afraid of everything.
Right.
But I took that quality of tremulousness and I made Jubal a deeper voice, and I put him down south. And so Jubal Earthquake is a fella kind of like this. You hear? I'm shaking up like that. That is a voice I've never ever been to use once, even in my career, and I created it back in 1985.
Definitely had that
So,
southern draw in there too.
oh yeah, uh, if you're gonna do the Tidewater like this, I could say I'm from Savannah, and it's nice and relaxed, and what they call a nice more upper quality of South. And Texas and East Texas, you got to sound like this. And if you're in the Appalachians and the mountains there, you're going to sound a little different again. And yet everything's considered Southern. That's why you
Mhm.
need to be, as I talk about, experienced and trained. And as I say, I think every actor should be a scholar. We should all be well trained and well versed and know the history of all the stuff that we do.
Absolutely. Have you so obviously you voiced heroes and villains, right?
Yeah.
Do you approach them any differently? Like is it all about tapping into them, or do you just like have what you have set in your mind when you walk into this recording booth?
If I, this is always a joke. If I have any preparation time, ha ha. Yeah. Almost every one of us will tell you that if you interview us or we're doing like a panel and we're talking about that, um,
Right.
they say, well, when you get the script and we start, snickering, get the script? You mean in advance? you know, um, we walk into the studio about 95% of the time and we read cold. It's in
Yeah.
front of us. Okay. Now, if you're cast in a role, you're given what's called a breakdown. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. He's 47 years old. He's a former Green Beret colonel. He has now gone uh, mercenary, but he still retains a sense of honor and all that. Okay. So you're going to have an idea of what kind of voice you want to do for that guy. And the breakdown gives you an idea of his moral compass,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so you go in there with a notion of what the character is like, and of course they cast you based on your audition, so they know what the character sounds like, and you do too. You bringing that voice, whatever it is. Now, as far as whether he's a good guy or a bad guy, remember a bad guy is not a bad guy in his own mind. A bad guy wants what he wants.
Yeah.
A good
Yeah.
guy wants what he wants. So you don't want to judge your characters morally. It's a mistake because then you walk in going like, "I'm going to be a bad," or the good guys all talk like this and stand this way and they raise their fist in the air for justice and
All
no,
right, all right, Cristobal, calm down, calm down.
yeah. And there are characters that are supposed to be like that, and if you're directed that way, absolutely, and it's a lot of fun for us when we
Yeah.
get to do a character over the top. It's hilarious. Um, One of my favorite good guy characters, and probably one of my only ones,
Mhm.
is Leomon from Kingdom Hearts.
Okay.
Um, I always stood up for the kids. When the kids got in trouble, I jumped in and I drove my sword into the ground and opened a fissure, a fault in the earth. And I
Mhm.
said, "You will not harm these children," And so there was always a great feeling about that. He was my favorite good guy character. But he had his subtlety also. There were moments when he was more tender with the kids, harsher with the enemies, and tried to be a peacemaker. There
Yeah.
were a couple
Yeah.
of characters that just they had my number. They were after me all the time, and I tried to stop them from fighting all the time. Bad for the kids, bad for all of us. So if the character is well written, the levels will be in there, the script will be in there, and if the director knows what they're doing, and luckily I get to work with very good people in most cases,
Mhm.
they're going to direct you in the right um, on the right course of really making sure the character is well rounded, serves the story, serves the storyline, like the character arc and the story arc. Um, that said, my favorite characters are always the villains. Um, if you write someone like, for instance, Xemnas,
Hmm.
and I don't know if have you guys played all the way through to the end of three?
I played all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't want to ruin anything for anyone, so um, all I can say is, for all that Xemnas would be considered a villain much of the game, he ends up not being a villain at the end, but ends up being a tragic character at the end.
The
And
funny thing about that, I was just about to say he's not really a villain if you think about it.
well, remember, a villain isn't a villain to himself. He wants what he wants.
Hmm.
How you go about it and how the story unfolds and how the director directs you and how the writer writes you has a lot to
Yeah.
do with that. I won't give away the end exactly, but I will tell you how one of my fans on Twitter said. She sent me a message and said, "If you had told me 2 weeks ago that I would have cried at the end of Kingdom Hearts, I would have laughed in your face." And she said, "Well, I just ended up finishing the game last night, and thank you for turning me into a sobbing mess." Because that's how the story actually ended for Xemnas. I won't say how or what I said and all that stuff, but that's when you describe, or she described essentially how she thought of Xemnas as being this bad guy. He's always in the way, and he's a tough boss, and he's hard to beat, and all that stuff. The way
Hmm.
it ended made her cry. She just, like she said, I was a sobbing mess at the end. Well, that was good writing. Kingdom Hearts 3 was, in my humble opinion, the best written of all the Kingdom Hearts games.
Tank, do you
See,
have
now I have
anything?
to play it.
I mean, dude, number one was like the ending to me. This is my personal opinion, nobody else's. Number one was horrible. I hated the ending, and it was just like, okay, this is stupid. Two, I was like, oh, so now I feel like a butthead because I thought anyway. Yeah, that's pretty much where I was at. And number three, it was okay. Three was okay. Three was not a horrible ending. It definitely
Mhm.
left it open. That's why they just dropped four. Um, Looking forward to that one. Don't know if maybe Xemnas might come back. We don't know.
Well, if I had a non-disclosure agreement, I would say I can't tell you, but I'm not. Have not been approached, and at this point, I'm not involved, so I can't tell you. First of all, I can't tell you anything about four because I didn't do it. I'm not in the script at this point.
Yeah,
Now, if they do have me show up, um, which is not likely, but if they do, then I'll have to, keep my mouth shut until the game comes out. Um, what they did say was my part of the story, my arc, if you want to call it that, ended with three.
yeah,
And they said that was the case with many characters in Organization 13. That's why you saw us kind of finish, let's put it that way. Now, I would dearly love to come back because I love the character. I love playing the character. I love voicing the character. I love all of it. Um, and it could be in a flashback. It could be in a side story, like Dream Drop Distance or 358
yeah.
2 and all that kind of thing. Those were what you might call side stories.
Right.
Hmm.
They involved me, and they had to do with the story and the characters and all that. But it wasn't like they were doing four already. So when three finally came out, um, and when I'm at my table selling merch, I autograph my Xemnas pictures and I say, "Thanks for your patience," because it took almost 10 years for three to come out.
Yeah.
Um, Yes. Again, the other side stories were going on, and that's all fine, birth by sleep and whatnot. But actually, everybody was waiting for three and waiting, myself included. When they finally said it was coming out, we all said no, it wasn't, because we were on strike at the time.
Yeah.
This was 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So they said if they're going to make the game now, it'll be without all of us. Now, to their credit, when we finally did settle um, and got almost what we wanted, they had been working on the script. So a couple of months after we settled the strike, we were in the studio. So they had been working on it. Again, I say to their credit, because sometimes they just sit on their butts and will not budge and not do anything at all. So they were ready, and they know the fans are ready.
Yeah. Think you have anything? I'm not gonna kick you out of this.
You're good, bud. So like Jay said earlier, we've had all kinds of people on before, actors and voice actresses and everything. And a common theme with a lot of them, when they go into the studio, whether it be voice acting or actual or like acting on stage or something, like Kim Rhodes has said, this director is my favorite so far, or somebody else like, I love working with this one because of the energy. Do you have like a favorite director that you've worked with, or one that you would love to work with that you haven't had the chance to yet?
Oh, as far as my favorites, I've worked with so many very good ones. Some do things differently. I don't want to say better than others, but they do them differently. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like if I work with Richard Epcar,
Mm,
he and I have known each other from the beginning. That was 1985 with Robotech. That was my first series, and I think he had been working on a couple things, but we were pretty new to everything. And this was all pretty new. I like to work with him very much because he sort of leaves me to do what I know how to do. He knows when to just keep his hands off, you know.
Yeah.
Um, the level where I work, the typical actor where I am, the skill level is one where you don't need to teach us now. You don't need to explain things from some historical standpoint. We've been in that history. We know how this works. And so, a director that knows when to direct very little. Um, oh, sorry, I just had another message from somebody else. I really hate that. Okay.
you're good.
Um, it's another studio. um, anyway, if a director knows that the best way to handle the actor is to let them act, that's great direction. Um,
Yeah.
I've worked with other directors. Ezra Weiss, he's my director, main director from Miraculous Ladybug. Uh,
Hmm.
he knows that I know how to do what I do, and so he doesn't interfere with that part. His greatest strength is he will go ahead and explain exactly what I need to know about the storyline, about the world that I'm in, um,
Mm-hmm.
and then he will let me go and do my thing. Uh, there are directors, on the other hand, that want to be so hands-on. They've got to be, explain everything and squeeze every possible. And you're sitting there going, "Come on, I've been doing this for 40 years. Give me a break," you know.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, as far as directors I've never worked with, I would love to be in a voiceover session, a voiceover setting, directed by Steven Spielberg. Um, I do not know how good he is in ADR and in animation, but he's a legend for screen actors because, and a friend of mine worked on a film that he was directing many, many years ago. He only had a couple of scenes, but he was listening to the way Spielberg works. He can explain, encapsulate exactly what he wants within a few words or short sentences. Um, there's no over explaining, and there's no leaving the actor feeling like he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Spielberg just knows exactly. It's a science. It's an art that he can do that. One of my favorite directors, unfortunately, passed away, I guess, about 5 years ago. I would
Hmm.
love to have been directed by Sidney Pollack. Um, Sidney Pollack was a brilliant uh, director going back to the 60s. Um, he was also a very good actor, and he hated taking credit for that. But if you ever watch the movie Tootsie um, with Dustin Hoffman,
Mhm.
That was Sidney Pollack directing. Now he played Hoffman's agent in the movie. He only read the scenes because they hadn't casted yet. And Dustin
Yeah.
Hoffman said, "Sid, you're so good in this. You have to play this role." And it was the same thing. Sidney Pollack was, "No, no, no. This is not. No, you're really good." And when you watch the film, he's terrific, and they work together so well. Knowing that this is a guy who is an actor's director and a director's actor, I would like to have been directed by him.
Okay.
Nice.
One last question for me. And this goes back to what you were saying a few minutes ago about all the different people you have played, villains and heroes and stuff like that. So, have you ever got emotional with the death of one of your characters? Not gonna say who or anything, but if anybody strikes your mind,
Um, I don't want to mention this only because there's some people that have not seen Boruto, which is
ah,
where yeah.
ah, yeah, I know where's that. Yep, I know where you're at. It's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Let me just put it this way. When you do a character for 17 years, as I did, and it involves working with some of your favorite people in the world and doing what you love, which is what I do. I love the work I do. Um, and you find out that this is it. Um, it was hard to do the final session. I had to keep taking deep breaths. So did the director and the engineer. And I had to really hold it together. And when I went out and signed the contract, and then you signed the paperwork, your timesheets, and all that crap.
Mm.
Then I went out to my car and I cried. I just lost it because this is something that's been a part of my life. It's been an important character in my life,
Yeah.
um, and it's something that I love to do. And I've been this character in video games, in basically what you would call Naruto feature films,
Yeah.
and all the way into Boruto. It's a part of your life. It still is because we all keep it alive with conventions. I do it with the teaching and stuff like that. And when I'm at my merch table and people want to talk to me about the character, I love to keep it alive. Um, but that was a case where it was very, very hard to let go. Um, there are times when I will finish a character up just because the series is over. I always take myself out to a nice lunch. I will go out to. There's a restaurant in Olvera Street called Las Anitas.
Mhm.
And I go there. I ordered up my favorite foods. I get a Modelo Dark. I lift the beer and I toast my character. If the show's over and I didn't die, it's still done. We're finished with it.
All
But I
right. Right.
toast it with that. On the other hand, when the character dies, if the series might not be over, but I'm dead, I'm not coming back. I toast the character like that. The most emotional I ever got with a character, um, this was for Netflix. And to save my life, I can't remember the title of it, but I played, and it was live action. I was
Mhm.
a French character. And this was done in France. And as we say, we didn't loop it, we dubbed it into English because it was not English to English.
Right.
Yeah.
So we dubbed it into English. I played a character who was a mathematician, and he was a brilliant mathematician to the point where he had actually created a new digit. Imagine, you know, that's how incredibly genius this guy was. And the storyline was about his decline. He was slowly drifting into dementia. And
Mhm.
at one point in the story, near the end, uh, my daughter in the story and I both realized just how bad it is. And I just cry. And so I'm in the studio and just tears running down my face. And the director says, she goes, salt tears in here. Let's take a break. You know, again, the actors on the screen were wonderful. The translation was terrific.
Mhm.
And it's easy to do good work with good writing. It's very hard to do good work when you are fixing the writing or simply trying to say these words that obviously the script doesn't work.
Yeah.
But this was one of those. The characters on the screen were terrific. The situation was great, and my director, whose name is Kira, no, Kyla. I'm sorry, Kyla Garcia. Um, have worked with her, coaching her on stage as an actress, and
Mhm.
she was my director on this production. And again, we have a lot of simpatico. We really have a good connection. So we worked very well together. In that particular case, we hit all the notes, and the result was heartbreak because that's what was written. That's what we did.
I really feel like if something is well written like that, it's okay to cry. I really do.
Oh, sure. The thing is, we as actors, when I talk about it, you have to be grounded, and you need to bring all this stuff to a session. You know,
Hmm.
on a film set, somebody would walk over with either glycerin to fake the tears for somebody, or they would walk over with an onion. In the old days,
Ah,
before they
Yeah.
had glycerin, they would bring onions or garlic near, and the person would be, and then they say roll, and the person is doing this, and the tears are coming down, but there's no emotional connection with that.
yeah.
When you are a grounded actor, when you've trained and studied and all that stuff, especially at my age where I've lived through a lot and through a lot of sadness and tragedy and difficulties and all that stuff, I bring a lot because of my age, you know.
Right.
Um, but you also have to be able to connect with that. With again, you have to connect with those things as a matter of your training. When I say grounded, so when the time came, I was so involved with the character and so concentrated that the tears came. I don't want to say easily, uh,
Hmm.
Yeah.
but it was part of the natural process. Instead of my going, okay, I physically know how to bring tears, and I do. I physically know how to bring tears if I have to. But this was really out of a very uh, organic place. Um,
Yeah.
because again, the director and I had a very good connection. We have some years of connection, so it was easy. And again, she was one who said, "I bring an actor that knows what he knows what to do. I will simply let him act. That's the way to do it."
Absolutely. Just for the record, I want to put out there just on the board. I did cry as well about your Baruto escapades.
Okay,
So I want
I
you to
do.
know you did very well.
Well, I appreciate that because um, I'm hesitant to say, or even autographs. People say, write something from something that really meant up to you in the show, that meant a lot to you as Kurama. And I asked them, I said, have you seen all the way through to the end of Boruto? And they say, no. I said, okay, there are some things I won't write. I won't,
Right.
on a
Right.
Funko Pop, they want to have an actual quote. So I will put a quote on there, but not from my final episodes. I'm not going to do that. I need
Right.
them to I need them to be surprised. I need it to grip them. But yeah, a lot of people said the same thing. It started to really get me. It was hard anyway, but it started to really get me because I don't know if the Japanese did this as a kind of a creative cruelty, but I've never seen it before. They let the credits roll all the way to the end,
Hmm.
and it's Naruto looking up at the sky. And you would think, well, the episode's over,
Right.
but they did that. But there was Naruto, and he started just screaming at the sky, Kurama, Kurama, So it's like everybody, myself included, was going, oh my God, Um, and so here again, the story arc really led us to that place, to that very deep and emotional place. And
Right.
that's why people that watch the 800 or so Naruto episodes, and this was like at episode 280 of Boruto, I think at that point, um, all of us were just torn up, you know. So that's why I say I get choked up even now when I talk about it and tell people about it. I get so um, uh, caught up in the memory of it
Hmm.
um, that it chokes me up again. Again, good writing, good direction, good storytelling. In my humble opinion, good voice acting by all of us.
Absolutely. Tank, you want to say something?
I actually have a couple of things that I want to say, but one of them I want to say, but I don't want to say because it deals with that character as well.
Okay.
But so in the manga, things happen, and
Here, I can fix this for you. Hey guys, from here on out, spoilers right here. It's right there where my editor put it. There you go.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
if you have a problem with that, everybody who's watching, okay, that's the way to
earmuffs.
do it. Yeah,
So
earmuffs.
so in the manga, he comes back, and he's
I,
with Himawari now.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
So I'm what's your opinion on when they take a character like that and he's gone, but then a little further down the road, it's oh wait, he's not gone.
Yeah.
Well, to me, it's okay if the character disappears. Like there would be 6 or 7 months where I wouldn't come in because
Mhm.
I didn't appear. I wasn't in the manga, I wasn't in the anime. Um, but I would then come in. That's fine. I didn't die or anything. I just went off and did whatever Kurama does in his spare time. Um, now, one of my lines had to do with the death, and other people were asking me, "Did you know in the manga that you die?" Uh, Watch carefully that last episode because I don't die. I fade into the sky, and that was referred to in many times, including my character saying death. Uh, but I was not on the battlefield with a spear through my heart or anything like that. So
Yeah,
when they bring the character back, and again, I don't know what the context will be within the manga, but
Mhm.
if they bring the character back and it is a flashback or a related story, perfectly fine with that. Um, because it is a way of filling out the storyline and telling the history and the past and that sort of thing. That's okay. If they are going to simply have me come back in the episode and not explain anything,
Yeah.
I, in
yeah.
my opinion, that's a mistake. Okay.
Yeah.
When you put it that way, in my opinion, it is a mistake.
I can agree with that. A lot of Game of Thrones stuff like that has happened.
Game of Thrones, which I loved Game of Thrones, by the way, but season 8, sorry,
Yeah,
Mm.
pissed
that
off.
last season.
Pissed me off.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got one more question.
Okay.
So we've talked about directors, who your favorite are, and then who you would have liked to work for. As far as like some of the stuff that's out right now, whether it be video games or anime or like movies and stuff, do you have a dream role that you would just like if somebody was like, "Hey, we want you for this TV series or this anime series," that you would instantly, no hesitation, be like, "I'm in."
Oh, yeah, I'll tell you a one that I actually auditioned for and didn't get. If you know Castlevania,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I auditioned for Alucard.
The new
really.
Netflix one that just came out?
Well, all of them, from
All
the
of them.
very
Oh,
beginning, Alucard, yeah.
okay.
I auditioned for that role and didn't get it. If I had a chance to grab that role, I would absolutely. I would jump in with both feet, you know. And I have no problem with the actor that does the role. I think he's terrific. I can see why they cast him. Um, at the same time, I would dearly love to have a crack at it too, because I'm listening to the script as written. I'm listening to what the actors do with the script. I
Mhm.
have ideas of what I would do. And again, no complaints about the actor that does it, or any of them for that matter. They're wonderful. Um,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but I would like to have a crack at it simply because I would give it my own spin, bring my own oomph to it.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you never know. You could do a crack at it one day. Who knows?
And that might happen if the actor decides he doesn't want to come back, and if they've saved my original audition and said, "Let's bring that guy in," could
Hey,
Yeah,
happen.
what?
or if they did like they did The Witcher, just hey, we don't need you
Yeah.
no more, and then bring somebody else in.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, where can they find you at on your social medias if anybody wants to find you?
Well, okay. Um, for Meta, Facebook, in other words, but on Meta, it is the Paul St. Peter fan site.
Okay.
Okay. For Instagram, it's Paul St. Peter 1. And Twitter, I think it's Paul St. Peter 1 also. Um, but all you need to do is look up on Twitter and put my name, and you'll find me.
Okay.
So the best
Nice.
thing, yeah, if there's any sort of confusion, or if your system's giving you a problem where it doesn't want to be specific or wants to be too specific, if you put my name in, and you'll find me at places like Twitter and your Instagram, um, and the two on Facebook and Meta. Uh, and those are places to contact me. Um, if you want to order something from me, I can give you my PO box if you contact me. We talk. If you want to send things to be signed by me, like the boxes from your uh, Funko Pops, don't send the pops. People actually do that. They send the whole thing to me. Don't take them out, fold the box, and put it. Mail it to me with return postage, etc. Let's do it that way. Keep your pops in your hands, okay? Uh, uh, but also, I do photos. If somebody has a special item they want signed, like somebody did one of those 3D printer things of a character, and they sent that to me by way of my PO box, and I signed it to them. I do that. We take care of it with PayPal. Um, so you can get in touch with me about merch of various kinds. I'll also let you know what I'm doing if I'm allowed to, and we can just become buddies. We can become friends.
That sounds good to us. If
No,
I
no.
ever see you, if I
Okay.
ever see you, I'm probably gonna get this signed by you. More than
Oh,
likely.
Susanoo, the
Yeah.
Susanoo. Yeah, absolutely. Bring it by.
And
And
if you go ahead.
with what I just said, please, no stalking. Okay.
Yeah,
I,
Jay.
when I do, well, when I do this, it seems like I'm joking, but I have to do this because um, naughty, 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 because people do that. They start getting online with me. I have a person that occasionally gets on Instagram with me and tries to taunt me into getting into an argument, and not funny, not cute. Don't do it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Not fun.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, make sure you follow us on all the platforms. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Paul, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate you.
Guys, thanks for doing this. It's always fun, and I love to talk about it. And this is how we keep the whole thing alive, whether it's a series going or a series past. We want to keep all of the fans interested in knowing what goes on and what it meant to me and to my fellow actors and directors and even writers and engineers, what it meant to all of us to do these things. And mostly how much we appreciate all of you guys and your support, because it's an old saying, but it's still true. We can't do this without you.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Because this dude over here, not the blinding lights, but Tank. He's a big Power Ranger fan, and I am a big
I
Okay.
Naruto
am.
fan. Like I got a bunch of stuff back here, and then on this side it's a bunch of Naruto pops. I mean, it's
Okay.
a lot. So yeah, you definitely got a good couple dollars at least from me.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I ever get down to Mississippi, um, I only did one convention that I can recall in Biloxi. Uh, this was some years back before the pandemic. But if I can get down there, absolutely get on by and see me.
Absolutely,
What's that? Set up a meet and greet for them?
let's do it.
Yeah, we could.
All right, guys, we'll see y'all in the next episode. Peace out.
We sure
Having
appreciate
fun.
it.